Hello and welcome to India Today SoSouth. I am Prija Arvind, veteran CPIM leader and the party general secretary. Sitaram Yechury passed away just a while ago. He was 72. He was also undergoing treatment at All India Medical Science, New Delhi, for acute respiratory tract infection. In fact, he had been on respiratory support for the past few days. His death was confirmed by Politburo member M.A. Bedi. Now, to discuss who Sitaram Yechury was and what his death means for the left party, I am joined by veteran journalist M.G. Radhakrishnan. Welcome to India Today So South, sir.
Thank you.
Bad
Yes,
news.
sir. Very sad news, extremely sad news. Although it was more or less expected in the last few days, once it has come, it is actually quite not just shocking but extremely saddening.
Yes, sir. So before I ask you about what the next step for CPIM would be, I would like you to help our viewers understand who Sitaram Yechury was.
Well, I think Sitaram Yechury belongs to that or belonged to that that school of communists who actually that particular school is becoming fast extinct in the sense that he was multi sort of extremely versatile, multifaceted personality. He was an intellectual to the core. The same time, he was an activist. He was adept at in street politics. He was an agitationist, and he was a great he, as everybody knows, and he was a great orator. He was he was quite smart in parliamentary negotiations. So this is something which is this makes him a rare species, in the sense that normally political leaders would be either, especially from the left or the communists. For instance, EMS Namboodiripad was a great intellectual, and not that he was not an activist, but AKG was AK Gopalan, another great legendary leader from Kerala. He was a he was he was a great agitationist, and he has led extremely historic struggles in Kerala as well as in the rest of the country. So Sitaram Yechury was one of those typical very very rare communists who sort of all these qualities sort of merged into him. Sort of this is what I think makes Sitaram Yechury, because he had such an elite background. He comes from a socially and economically very an upper class background, and he did his graduation in St. Stephen's, and then for the postgraduates he came to Jawaharlal Nehru University, and those were the heydays of emergency, and those stormy days. And it was 1975 that he joined JNU, and he led all those those great agitations and student struggles which actually marked that period. And in that campus, along with Sitaram Yechury, it was one of the greatest periods of JNU, because you had Sitaram Yechury, Prakash Karat on the one side, or the other, DP Tripathi, who became one of the great, political leaders of India, and then of course Arun Jaitley. All these people actually belong to that generation of student leaders during the emergency, who sort of made a big mark. And from after JNU, no, not after JNU, after, in fact, after the emergency, Sitaram Yechury was elected thrice as the president of Jawaharlal Nehru Students' Union. In fact, JNU is known as the left citadel for the left unions, and so Sitaram Yechury was one of these most important persons who laid the foundations of the of the left citadel in JNU. So this is something which makes him a distinct political leader of our times. He was very articulate. He was almost a polyglot. He knew at least 4 to 5 languages. He spoke English, Hindi, Bangla, Tamil, Telugu, and he could understand Malayalam very well. So this is what I said. If you take this particular generation of leaders, he belonged to that. In fact, the generation that actually it is a pre-independence national movement generation, in the sense that all these qualities actually belong to that particular generation. We don't see that those kinds of tall men or women among our leaders today. So that is why Sitaram Yechury was a person of his own kind, in the sense that he's a very rare political leader of our times, and the loss is so huge, not just for the party or the movement, but for the entire Indian democratic system.
So you already told us about how Sitaram Yechury was as a leader, and you told us about him being a rare species of politicians. Now, his death, what kind of ripple effect will that have in CPIM now?
Well, there couldn't be a more difficult time for CPM to lose a leader like Sitaram Yechury, because as we know, this is the worst period as far as CPM in particular, and the left in general in Indian left in general is concerned, because its presence in the parliament has come to the lowest level in independent India's history, and it has lost almost completely 2 states out of the 3 where it held its hegemony for a long time. That is Kerala. It has lost Bengal. It has lost Tripura, and Kerala also, it's going through a very, very difficult situation where 2026 elections are going to be extremely difficult for the left to be elected again for various reasons. So, this is a person like Sitaram Yechury, who was actually, um, not just in terms of leadership, but in terms of political strategizing, political tactics making, or negotiations and alliance politics, all these particular areas of political exercise, his acumen will be severely missed by the CPM. So this is a heavy blow. Just a few days back, CPM lost Buddhadev Bhattacharya. But of course, Buddhadev was almost in a political retirement that by the time that he actually left us. But both of them belong to this the kind of leadership that I told you about, the kind of quality leadership which is becoming extremely rare, not just for the left, but for the entire political spectrum in India. So for CPM, for more than anybody, more than any organization, more than anything else, it is CPM which is going to face a heavy vacuum because of the demise of a leader like Sitaram Yechury.
So while I was doing some research before I could talk to you about this, somewhere I read that Yechury is the person or the mastermind who kind of brought this coalition building legacy in the in Indian politics as such. In fact, he was the one who worked with P. Chidambaram to draft the common minimum program for the United Front way back in 1996, and also again before the UPA government formation in 2004. Now, that kind of political acumen, which other leader across party lines is there? And specifically within any of the left parties, PCIM, CPIM in specific also? Will there be anybody who can step into his shoes anymore?
Uh, I don't see any particular person who can actually replace Sitaram Yechury in those capacities. But of course, Sitaram Yechury was, I would actually give credit to somebody like Harkishan Singh Surjit for having been the originator of alliance politics within the left, as well as the left and the non-left party, that kind of alliance. Actually, he was a builder of that. In fact, his mantle, actually, his legacy. I think Sitaram Yechury was the most important legatee of that particular tradition of Harkishan Surjit's tradition. In fact, after Sujit, even when Sujit was alive, Sujit was actually leading all these alliance kind of tactics. It was Sitaram Yechury who was his commander, or his most trusted comrade, as it were, for his this political negotiations and political alliance building and kind of relationship building with the Congress and all those things. So after Harkishan Surjit, it was Yechury who actually did that. After Yechury, after Surjit passed away, it was Yechury all the way. There was nobody in that particular. Of course, and I would actually uh, uh, think that a person who could actually succeed Sitaram Yechury in these kind of abilities and these kind of capacities would be Brinda Karat, and she has the additional sort of dimension of being a woman also, because left, as we know, like most other political parties, there has been a huge dearth of women in important positions of power in every political party. Left in particular, because left is to be particularly mentioned, because left has always projected itself as a party who actually believed in gender justice, gender equality, and all. But in spite of all that, we could actually, we actually saw that, the CPM also has been. In fact, Brinda Karat has actually once actually had gone on record mentioning that, even the left, suffers from this kind of patriarchal attitude. So I think if at all anybody is to succeed Sitaram Yechury, and who has the sort of the capacities and capabilities of Yechury, like she is also a great agitator. She's an political ideologue to some extent, and she's a good she's extremely good in articulation. She builds actually relationships and build alliances with all the others, all the other political parties, and very affable, very amiable personality. In all those respects, I think if somebody would actually should actually who deserve to be a successor to Yechury, it would be Brinda Karat.
I already asked you about Yechury as being a leader, but l- can you tell us a little bit more about how he was among uh, as a politician with other party members? Because I think I also read somewhere that he was one of those very rare politicians, one of the unique politicians who had friends across party lines. In fact, I also about to watch this one video of Arun Jaitley and Sitaram Yechury having a discussion, a panel discussion on the party politics. This is from I think almost 7 years ago. That video itself is. So that kind of a person, how big a loss is it for CPIM as well as Indian politics in general?
Well, I think this is a very important point that you raised. In today's politics, and politics is the way politics is played out is actually has undergone tectonic changes in the last few years, or in the last few decades, because it is all there is the past communists were actually they actually believed in street politics and books and ideological exercises, party classrooms and party classes and all those. But today, we are in the time of optics, where television or visual media is playing a very important role, where you need to be articulate, where you need to be great debater. But now, even though they actually they might do the same when they speak, actually they know the importance and significance of these kinds of qualities that are absolutely essential for leadership of for the leaders of this particular period. So I think in that particular uh, point, I can say that there's nobody else. There's not many people there, especially in the left. There are not many people who could actually um, be compared to Sitaram Yechury. And what number two, as you said, his interpersonal relationships. He's absolutely wonderful, friend to, as you said, across politics, across, all those things. This is also very rare among communist leaders because, as you know, communist leaders like the old RSS or the Hindutva leaders, they were all sort of hermit kind of people. Like they were ascetics, they were all completely wedded to their ideology and political party. They never would actually mix and mingle with people outside or people belonging to other ideologies, other political parties. So this is where Sitaram Yechury was a completely different person. He had friends with all, as I said, Arun Jaitley and he were actually, they fought each other in student politics. They were actually hardcore enemies, but at the same time, they kept an exceptional friendship right through. And in fact, during emergency, they were actually comrades in arms because both the ABVP and the SFI actually fought emergency together. And Jaitley was the chairman of the Delhi Students Union, president of the Delhi Students Union, whereas Yechury was of the JNU. And so this kind of interpersonal relations, this is what I said in today's party politics, today's parliamentary politics, where CPM and the left is playing a very crucial role. They should possess this kind of qualities, this kind of faculties, which are very rare within the left. And Sitaram Yechury was one person who could actually do all these things. That is why his absence is again going to be extremely severe for the left in this particular point in history.
Thank you so much for joining us here on SoSouth, Mr. Radhakrishnan. I hope the leaders, the young upcoming youth as well, understand the kind of loss Sitaram Yechury's death is going to be for Indian politics, and the idea of what student politics to a political, the the entire journey from being a student leader to a political veteran leader is that kind of a journey. Let's hope that people might take inspiration from Sitaram Yechury's life. And thank you again for joining me here on India Today So South.